Chinese AI and cars and 6G, how are these things coming together to change our world? Well, they certainly will do. So let's start off with 6G. Well, we're currently on 5G. 5G is all about connecting things. We've heard about IoT for quite a while. Prior to that, we had technologies like 2, 3, 4G, which were all about connecting people, to use the famous slogan. 6G is all about connected intelligence. Now that brings about a new level of a complexity, because if we go back to the older technologies of 2G, 3G, the guiding principles were to build networks in such a way that different components would be able to operate with each other. It's called interoperability. With 5G, that was still possible. Open standards enabling us to connect many different devices into the same systems. When we move over to connected intelligence, the world changes. My phone will be communicating with the intelligence in your phone, and they'll be making decisions independently of us. It's a very different scenario. The big change from 4G to 5G was a shift from having a strong center to a 5G situation where the intelligence sits at the edge of the network. It's a big, big change architecturally. The shift to 6G is even bigger. The standardization work for 6G has not started yet. There are many companies that are interested in getting involved with this. But if you look at the things that will be needed in order to achieve 6G, then, well, AI is at the center of it, as you can hear, and AI is very resource heavy. We know that. Memory requirements enormous, processing power requirements enormous. It's quite heavy. And the complexity, like I said, is big. One would think, therefore, that the existing 5G players will fight and whoever has the most engineers will win. But that's not obvious. And we learned that already during 3G, where the big shift for 3G was to use much more internet protocol or IP-based technology within the networks, enabling companies such as Cisco and Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, etc., to enter 3G network provision. So who's going to be the winner in 6G? Well, it might be the incumbents, the big telecom companies of today, or it might be entirely new players who are specialized in AI. But connected intelligence, I think you will agree, is quite interesting. Let's jump over to 3 of our customers over at StarTrader right now. Khaled is a conservative trader who trades with 27 of his friends. Dayu is, well, she's not like me. She's extremely social, 25,000 friends on TikTok. I don't have 25 friends. And Lucas is a guy from Brazil. Very different. Lucas is very technical in everything he does, multi-level marketing and everything else. And I asked him, okay, I've started this thing about 6G. What would you like to hear about? And they said, tell us about the cars, everything about the cars. All right, everything about the cars. Well, you have different opinions about these things, so let's go through one by one how you look at this. And just before that, let's just look at the big picture. The big picture is that we have a number of established players in cars today, and we have a number of new entrants. Maybe you can count Tesla as a new entrant. Maybe you can count Lucid as a new entrant. Lucid is a Saudi-backed company that's based out of California. And if you are a new player entering this new world, then you will need a lot of money over time. So you're running and you're burning cash. So for companies such as Lucid, burning cash and keeping in the race as you go towards 2030 is going to be a big challenge. Now, at this point, you're thinking, okay, the established players, including Tesla, will dominate everything. But that's not really true. Talking to Khaled mentions BYD immediately as one player. So I checked out BYD, where BYD is a Chinese battery manufacturer who have bought a car factory and started building cars under their own brand. At the bottom of this slide, you see two similar products on sale through mobile.de, which is the leading car sales website in Germany. And you see a BYD Atto 3 car being sold for 45,000 euros, whereas an approximately similar car, the Volkswagen ID.4, is being sold on the same site for 58,000 euros. Right. Well, this suggests that BYD is very serious about entering new markets. And in fact, BYD has a 40% market share for electric cars in China, whereas Volkswagen only has a 2% market share in China for electric cars. This is a major new entrant that's coming in. Which brands are people going to be using? Well, Foxconn, the Taiwanese company, has big factories in China. And their opinion is that by 2030, 50% of all electric vehicles will be built by Foxconn under very many different brands. So the brand game is an interesting thing. You see the Chinese company SAIC, they own the MG brand, so they're trying to do that one. The Chinese company Geely owns Volvo and the Polestar brand. Lots of new brands coming in. And how are people going to be approaching this? Well, contract manufacturing or own assembly is one of the key questions. BYD has gone for own assembly. Foxconn offers contract manufacturers for electric vehicle manufacturers. From a customer standpoint, what do you want? Do you want a heavily branded product, or is it more important for you simply to get innovation plus cost and you don't really care about the brand? Well, typically mass market customers are more interested in innovation and cost than in the brand, but let's see how that plays out. Software and procurement are going to be big game changers. How you buy products. Electric vehicles are much easier to build than combustion engine cars. So new entrants are going to have different procurement channels than classic car makers. So those are changes coming up, definitely. Gartner says that half the world's electric vehicles will be built in China longer term. That's not in conflict with what Foxconn says. But if you look at the prices at the bottom of this slide, I think we all agree that the cost structure has to be similar to China when it comes to electric vehicles. Because if you're competing like for like, selling at 45,000 euros and 58,000 euros, then something needs to give. Khaled loves this. Khaled loves a good fight. He typically, when he invests on things going down. He's a classic bear. You look through his trades and you see, the vast majority are shorting different stocks and so forth. So he's loving this fight and the complexity of it all. Lots of new manufacturers, 300 Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers today. There's a lot happening, and Khaled is having great fun. Dayu looks at it entirely differently. Her starting point is financial. She says, okay, today people spend $2 trillion per year on buying cars. However, we spend $10 trillion per year on personal transport. So her number one focus is on the business models. If the majority of the money sits with personal transport, then turn it all upside down and let's talk about $10 trillion instead of talking about $2 trillion. That's her starting point for the way that she looks at this. She knows that according to UBS, in 2025, about 25% of all vehicles will be electrified and 80% will be connected to the internet. Furthermore, in 2030, in 2025, 80% will have some self-driving features. We're seeing that happening already. Also, Daewoo believes in the UBS vision that by the year 2030, 50% reduction in personally owned cars. Why? Well, in the near term, the hardware cost of doing self-driving technology are very high. We drive our cars for maybe 5% of the time. 95% of the time, the cars are parked. If self-driving cars are expensive to build, and in the short term they are, then it makes sense to rent instead of buying if it's very expensive. Spread out the cost. So Daewoo sees a world where every cloud has a dynamic, three-dimensional world that the car observes around it. Very, very technically heavy. Maybe the chip manufacturer NVIDIA is going to be the key beneficiary of that. And all of these clouds need to be connected to each other. So we have connected intelligence there from cloud to cloud within a grid. So who's going to be operating that connectivity grid? Quite a few different challenges that she sees and lots of opportunities for new companies to enter and step in. In the year 2050, with 9.5 billion people, and our lives will have stretched out on the world, so we'll have perhaps 77 years of average lifetime in the year 2050 worldwide. Most of us living in cities. What Daewoo wants is to step into a branded driving experience, or in fact riding experience. And depending on her situation, she will want one brand when she goes out in the evening and a different brand when she goes to work in the morning. That's quite a different way of looking at the future of cars. Lucas, well, he's a comfortable man. Everything in his life is geared around his mobile phone. He wants to step into a car and whoa, everything just happens. He wants his digital lifestyle to be what drives what's going on. He wants to own his own car. Ideally, he would want to have a luxury car. Rolls-Royce today sells more than half of all the cars that cost more than $250,000 to buy. The average sales price of a Rolls-Royce today is $500,000, or in fact above that. That's the world that he wants. He likes that. But in order to get the type of fluent navigation and voice control and beautiful audiovisual surrounding and so forth, he believes that the future cars will be software-wise incredibly advanced. And he notes that, according to him, among the major suppliers, only Volvo and Ferrari have CEOs who are technically trained. The smaller companies quite often have technically trained people on board. And for all of this software, in the old days, you used to write a big specification and then you ask people to supply to that. But in the new world, Agile means that software is done step by step, continuous update, small changes all the time. And he thinks companies with that type of software culture have a much better chance of surviving than other companies. Lucas has also looked at LinkedIn to see the type of hiring profiles that different car manufacturers have. And according to him, you can see which car manufacturers are better placed to enter software than other car manufacturers simply by looking at the nature of the type of software engineers that they're trying to find on LinkedIn. That's quite an interesting way of looking at it. And Power consumption is going to be huge for all of these things because you're running super fast computers everywhere. If you simply look at the cost of training OpenAI's GPT-4 model, which is the most advanced OpenAI model today, it cost more than $100 million in power to power the computers that enabled that model to train itself. Big, big numbers. So what does he expect, our dear friend Lucas? Well, he expects everything to be fast. He steps into the car, everything just happens. The computing requirements that he's talking about in saying that are enormous. And if things go wrong, what are the consequences? The discipline when writing software for that is going to be key. Big, big demands that Lucas places on all of us. I have a little bit of background in the area because in 2012 I wrote a patent application which was updated in 2013 by my daughter Alice and by me. And that patent application says that, okay, I have a digital footprint which consists of my stress level and my speed of pulse and so forth. It consists of my history and my future in the form of my calendar and my expected pattern of behavior over the next couple of hours. And that patent application says that, okay, you step into a space, such as a room or a car, and everything should automatically adapt to that digital footprint. My car should understand that I'm going to a party and play upbeat music and show upbeat videos on high-resolution screens. Alternatively, it should be taking it easy because I'm driving home from work at the same time. My footprint should give that. So where is this going to go? Well, it's going to be fun. I think personal transport situations in 10 years' time will be a pleasure. It's going to be very, very nice. Khaled looks forward to the fight, and he believes that the fast iteration advantage that the Chinese have today is something that they can use to their advantage. He's enjoying that. Dayu, well, she just wants it all to be nice and sweet. She wants her Giorgio Armani branded personal travel experience to take her from place to place without her thinking about who owns the car. She does not want to own the car. And whereas Lucas, he's looking forward to the technical beauty of it all, where he gets loud music with perfect technology delivered before he steps into the car, and then everything adjusted and adapted. When the car realizes that his children are with him, he wants the car to adapt to that, change and play multiple different types of media in the different parts of the vehicle and so forth. So hey, so that's the way he looks at it. The opportunity for Chinese car manufacturers, I think, by now is apparent. 6G is home territory for many Chinese companies. AI is an area where China is very strong already today. Hardware manufacturing is, again, home territory for China. Logistics is something they're good at. So let's see how that goes. And battery technology, again, many of the top battery manufacturers in the world are Chinese-based companies. So the opportunity for China to bring these things together is huge. And let's see how that goes. In the meantime, while we wait for this to unfold, I think let's go back to trading. Let's think through how these things are going to play in on many different things in the world of trading. Pick your account, pick your planet, land on it, let's go. And in terms of which alternatives you use, which technologies you use in order to make your trading take you from where you are now to where you want to go, please talk to your dedicated account manager, work it out, and I think we can have some great fun together. Now, I've been talking about AI and cars now for a fair while. I love those things. I think it's great fun, but we all have a day job. So thank you. Let's go back and do some work, and I'll see you on the next talk. Thank you.